Welcome to the Orlando Dads Group podcast. This is our fourth episode. My name is Nick Izzy, and I'm here with Floor today. And unfortunately, Nate, our other co-organizer, can't join us, but uh, he's here in spirit.
Yes, he has some family things to do, which is totally understandable.
You got to put family first, so we encourage that, and we're glad he's taking time with his family to do that. So, but today we have a very special guest. He is the co-founder of City Dads, which is one of two of the companies that have merged together with so City Dads and Fathering Together have come together, but City Dads is the first company that kind of started it all, at least on our end. Um, and they started the New York City Dads Group, and that's what started City Dads back in 2008, I think he said.
Yeah, it
Does that
was
sound right?
2008 or 2009.
Somewhere in the
Yeah.
early to mid 2000, between 2005 and closer to 2010, I think. But um so they started New York City Dads, and then uh Chicago, no, LA, they one of the I think you said one of the members moved from New York to Los Angeles, and then they
hmm
started one there and then one in Chicago, and it just kind of grew from there. So we have Matt Schneider. We did a interview with him a few months back about how it came to be with him and Lance creating City Dads, and what it was like in the early days, and then also what's going on now and what's kind of going on in into the future. Here are a couple clips from Matt Schneider's webinar that we had with some of the members of our group, talking about the origin story of City Dads.
What were some of the big challenges that you had in starting a group and especially taking it national? Like how did that come about where it just started growing to that point, and what were the challenges in trying to get all that organized?
Yeah, I mean, early on, we organized on Meetup. Believe it or not, Meetup existed 16 years ago. There was no Zoom, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter wasn't popular. We had Meetup, and that's where we got guys to sign up there. And we had a blog. Lance actually started a blog on Blogger, and uh, fairly regularly, several times a week, posted pictures of what we were up to kind of show the world what it meant to be in a dad's group. And this was 2008, 2009. So the assumption was that we were home because we were forced to be home because the economy was bad and we had all been laid off. So how sad is it that you're all have to be home with your kids? So we were challenged by that narrative. And being in New York City and being pretty public about what we were doing, we ended up getting a lot of calls from media pretty early on. And that was always kind of the foundational question. Does it suck getting laid off and having to stay home with your kids? And we were able to really turn that around and say, I mean, for the two of us, we made the choice. So we were able to say, of course, there's some people that have been laid off, and those people probably aren't the ones that are looking for a dad's group and joining us.
hmm
And they could be great dads, but the ones that are here are largely ones that are choosing to be here and want to find community. And we're happy to be here. And some of us are working, some of us are at home dads. So I think early on we saw this opportunity to kind of change the narrative about what the world was seeing fathers as, and we could show the world what active and engaged dads looked like by putting the pictures on our blog at the time, by participating when the media called us to say, hey, what it's like to be an at-home dad, or what's like to be an active dad, and can change the narrative that way. And back at the time, even commercials were pretty bad in terms of making dads look like idiots.
Yeah.
Like we are not even capable of changing our kid's diaper without a gas mask and rubber gloves. or or just incompetent, or we don't care, or we're not there at all. So we just had all these opportunities to change the narrative. And I think one of the early successes that we had in New York City, or one of the things that I love about all of our cities, is that the city becomes part of the group. And we didn't have backyards. We didn't have big homes that we could invite people over. So we were always meeting out somewhere in the city. And people liked the fact that we're organizing a meetup at the Bronx Zoo or the Brooklyn Botanical Garden or the Whitney Museum, and they'd come out to that. They wouldn't necessarily go to the Bronx otherwise from Staten Island or from Queens, but the opportunity to go hang out with some dads in the Bronx at the Bronx Zoo was a fun thing. So that kind of became part of our story as well. And then I think fairly early on also, we started to get calls from like Gymboree or places that offered music classes. Kind of the big national chains said, well, we have moms come in all the time. Why don't dads come in? So we came in for a free class, and that was a fun experience for us all to be sitting around with our babies and our rattles shaken to the music. I think over that first 5 years in New York City, we had a lot of people notice us, but I don't think they really got it. Other dads groups around the country didn't get this idea of putting all these pieces together. Like most dads groups stopped at, okay, we found our little group. We'll leave it at that. If the 10 of us show up in somebody's rotating backyard, then we've got a group, and we've done our job. We've resolved our own loneliness. We can hang out together. We can have fun. But it doesn't welcome new people into the community, and it doesn't create that the resource for other dads that we really wanted to create. So had some guys around the country ask us for advice, and actually the real start of City Dads Group was when a dad moved from New York to Los Angeles and said, there's no group here. I want to start a group here. And at the same time, we were talking to a group in Chicago that existed, but wasn't what they wanted it to be. So that's in 2013 where we said, rather than just give advice, we'll create this umbrella organization, City Dads Group, and we'll really invest in the three groups at that point and try to learn from our success in New York and translate it to Los Angeles and Chicago. And then we, at that time, we didn't create a business plan. We didn't even have a business at that point. We established an LLC at some point, but we weren't doing this to create a business. We weren't doing this to make money. We were doing it because we saw the real benefit of bringing dads together and what we could do for each other and what we could do kind of to change what the world perceived fathers as. But we did at that time say to the rest of the country, if you want to join us, fill out this form and let's talk. And around that time as well, we started to get some sponsorships. Early on, we would get a call from, say, Britax, the stroller company, and we did a meetup with Britax in New York, all of us pushing our strollers over the Brooklyn Bridge, taking pictures, posting on our blog at the time. And we got paid in strollers. All the guys got to keep their strollers.
Oh, wow.
Which was great for the guys, great for the group. But Lance and I certainly could only use so many strollers. So the incentive needed to change. And as we were thinking about doing more with the group, we said to Britax and some of the other sponsors, we're happy to organize something like this, but we need you to pay us to do that for you, to organize that for you. And they said, great, we do this for moms all the time. There's mom groups, there's mom bloggers, there's mom, not influencers at the time, but we have relationships with moms where they're getting paid to organize basically brand events. So we started to get paid, and that helped us to put the money together to pay for groups around the country. We got logos made for everybody and t-shirts made and business cards and all of that kind of stuff. And certainly it was never a lot of money, but it kept us in business for a long time, working with these sponsors. And we were very, very careful at that point about which sponsors we were working with. We wanted to work with companies that we believed in their products, that had great messaging. And more often than not, it was really companies that were specifically trying to reach dads. We didn't have a sales team going out to brands saying, we can do this for you. We were here, we were loud, and we were proud. And they said, we've got a new baby Bjorn coming out that's specific, and the campaign is specifically targeted at dads. Would you guys like to participate? Yes. Plum Organics was really trying to boost the idea of moms and dads being involved in feeding their kids.
Mm-hmm.
City Dads Group, would you like to join our campaign? Yes, of course. So that helped us grow across the country, and a bunch of guys started coming to us and saying, we want to start groups in our city.
Yeah, so it seems like, so you hit the three major cities. You got New York, LA, Chicago. Now, how long did it take until you started realizing, like, before the next city just started jumping on, and like, was it like slow starting, or did it just start ramping up like before you knew it?
Yeah, well, we really, like I said, we didn't say, okay, we're going to start City Dads Group and we want it to be groups in 3 cities, so we can only work with you in those cities. But it ramped up fairly quickly. Probably we were adding 6-7 groups a year until 2019. So we have 41 groups now in 41 cities. We started 41 and 41 are still in existence. So it was a good 6 or 7 per year that we were adding up to 2019. And I believe Tampa Bay Dads Group was the last one that we added I think it was the end of 2019, maybe January 2020. And then, of course, COVID hit, and we haven't been adding any new groups since then. We've been we were able to survive through COVID. The goal of everything we do is to bring dads together in real life. So that's a real fast forward. But through all of this, we've really wanted to focus on bringing dads together in real life. Being virtual, being on Zoom is great, but sitting around a table for a cup of coffee or a beer, or hanging out at the playground, or going to Top Golf, or whatever it may be, with that bunch of guys, with those families, is everything. So COVID was tough. So we're still recovering from COVID, trying to bring back 41 groups, but that's a long answer for a short question.
Oh, no, you're good. No, you're good. So 16 years. It's been a long time. From the very beginning up until today, have you seen the perception of fatherhood change over time?
I've seen a lot of things change. I think 2 big changes, or 2 positive changes I've seen. Like I said, the marketing, I think, has changed a lot. It's very rare these days to see a commercial that is actively making dads look like idiots, like doofuses. And there was a guy, Zach Rosenberg, he wrote a blog called 8-Bit Dad way back in the day. And he actually, for several years in a row, wrote a post-Super Bowl post and documented the commercials. And there were always 5, 6, 7 commercials, believe it or not, during the Super Bowl that were really making dads look like idiots, like cell phone commercials, car commercials. Like, it was just funny, and they thought this was good marketing to make fun of other dads. And we participated in some good conversations with marketers and advertisers and companies over time, and a bunch of other people have. And I think that has really ended. If you watch commercials now, you don't see that kind of same portrayal of dads that you did back in the day. And I think the other big change is kind of work life. There was no conversation about paternity leave happening on a big level. There was a big conversation about the fact that women weren't getting maternity leave, paid maternity leave across the board. A lot of women had no paid leave at the time, and that was a big deal. It still is the case today that mothers and fathers are across the board in the US. That we're the only country in the world, I think, at this point that doesn't have any sort of national paid leave program. But we early on said, hey, dads want to take time off when our kids are born as well. And that's good for dads. We want to be there. It's good for moms who and developing that parenting partnership early on, and of course it's good for kids to have parent all available parents there and willing and ready. So we really have been talking up paternity leave and paid family leave as a concept for that whole time, and I think the momentum on that shifted very quickly, I would say 6-7 years ago, where we really saw companies saying, if we're going to have a paid family leave program, it's going to be for moms and dads, or there's going to be policies for moms and dads and adoptive parents. And it's not going to be just for when you have babies. It's going to be when you need to take care of sick parents or or your older children are sick. So that care conversation has changed, and we have plenty of progress to make. But I think that really it's been neat to see that, and we still have some work to do. But I would say on the other, to flip the coin, what hasn't changed. I really saw this during COVID, or we all saw this during COVID, was that kind of we go back to those gender roles very quickly when things get tough. And COVID obviously was tough on families, and by and large, the people in families that were taking a step back from work because kids were home and we needed to manage school. It was almost, I mean, in so many cases, women. It was men were figuring out a way to keep their jobs, and women were saying, I can't do it this way anymore. I need to take a step back. And we kind of retreated to those old gender stereotypes, those old gender roles. Statistically, of course, there's many examples of men that were the primary caregiver. I certainly was during that time. My wife is the breadwinner for our family. I'm the primary caregiver for our family, and that did not change. But for so many families, it did, and I feel like we kind of took a lot of steps back in kind of that parenting, developing that parenting partnership. And it's not about checking boxes and being perfectly equal. It's about intentionally saying, we're here doing this work together. We're building a family together. Money needs to be made. Houses need to be cleaned. Camp needs to be planned for. Summers need to be planned for. Doctor's appointments need to be made. And we're capable people. We need to figure out how to make this work together. So I think we're not as far along in that conversation as I thought we would be after this long.
Yeah, it's taking some time, but I think slowly, like, it's like the message, the word is getting out, like, about dads and what we mean to our kids and families. But I mean, I agree. It's we still got some work to do. And I think groups like this and across the nation, I mean, as long as we keep doing what we're doing and growing the community, reaching out to the community and doing things around the community, I think will help continue to slowly change that. I still think we got a fight ahead of us. But I feel like the impact is there. We're definitely making a difference across the nation, across the world. There's a lot more dad sources that I see now today than I did 10 years ago. When I was going through my divorce, I was looking for dads, that I can relate to and talk to, and that's how I stumbled upon Orlando Dads Group. So um, because of how I found it and the impact it made for me, I always remember that when I plan an event, when I, talk to other dads and just really try to just make connections, really not pressure anyone to doing anything unless they really want to. Like I mentioned, there's dads in the group that I probably never seen, but um, but it's okay, it's eventually they'll make it out. And some just have joined. I've never seen them, but they've messaged me privately to maybe talk about some things that are going on. And sometimes that's all they want, they just want that to happen. So I think as long as those connections and that relationship is being built, and we keep doing what we're doing across all the groups, I think it'll happen. But we still have to put up the fight. It's gonna take some time. More time than we'd like. But there's a lot of dedicated dads in our groups that want to make that change, and it's happening. There's more dad stuff out there now, so we just got to keep on pushing.
Definitely, definitely.
Well, that was our conversation with Matt Schneider. He is one of the co-founders of City Dads and obviously a part of our other group combining Fathering Together and City Dads. I don't know about you, Floor, but one of the things that was interesting for me during this conversation was I really liked hearing when we had asked Matt about what it was like early on and how because they were dads, they were getting a lot of attention early on. But it wasn't the attention necessarily that he may have wanted, and they were able to change things around. When he started, they were talking about the news was kind of looking at it like it was an unfortunate thing that the dads had to stay home with the kids because it was during the recession, and they were able to kind of change things around or flip the script and be able to say, no, 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 that may be the case for some people, but we chose to do this.
Yeah, I think it's and it's funny because there's still a little bit of that going on today, but I feel that over time has gotten better. And I think he even talks about how this group and just being a part of this environment and trying to empower dads, how he's seen like, it change over time where, society's kind of seeing us a little bit more, where dads are a little bit more involved. But I mean, there's still a little bit of that going on today where it's like, oh, it's your turn to babysit, and we've seen
Right.
the shirts all over the place where it's like dads don't babysit, and it's like we're the parents too, we take care of our children. We're not here because we were told to do this. We're here because we want to do this. Um, so it's nice. It was nice to kind of see and hear them go through the challenges early on when they were starting the group, um, and how it's kind of evolved over time. But of course, we still have a lot of work to do as dads and just helping each other out and supporting each other. But it's nice to see that we're kind of being looked at in a different way now. There's
Right.
different perspectives, and it's benefiting us because it's like, okay, dads, we can do our thing too. Like it's not just moms. So it was always nice to hear that from him, but also to see it in real time, today.
Right. And that's really the whole point of the group, is to educate people that it's not just, we're not doing this just because we have to. It's we're choosing to do this. We want to be an involved dad. We want to be an active part of our child's life.
Hmm.
And we're not doing it because someone's forcing us to. So,
That's exactly right.
well, it is December now, and I don't know about other parts of the country, but Florida is definitely feeling it. It was cold today. It is. I obviously have lived in Florida too long because it was 41 degrees this morning, and I'm in pants and long sleeves, and I'm I can't do it anymore. I
It's
that was
it's a
like
big
normal weather,
change.
but not here.
It's a big change from where you come from too. Like where you come from, it's like you're used to this is barbecue weather for you,
Yeah.
and and then and then to live here for so long, and then it's like hits in the 40s, you're like, oh my God, I can't go outside, you know? Um, I mean, me personally, I've lived in Florida all my life, so yes, it's definitely cold for me, and I'm sure somebody listening to this is hearing 41 and they're just laughing at us right now, but
Oh,
hey, 41 is cold to me when it's in the 30s, I think about calling off of work to not leave my
yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Like it's that serious. But
Yeah.
um, it is what it is. Thankfully in Florida, winter is only like 5 minutes compared to other places. But
Yeah.
yeah, the winter is definitely here.
Well, and besides the cold weather, my family at least, I know others around, and I'm sure yours as well, are starting to think about holiday traditions. And we just had Thanksgiving. One of the things that my family does around this time of year is uh, there's a cookie recipe that my wife's grandmother has been doing for years, and she's unfortunately passed away now. But I've continued to make those cookies not only for my wife's side of the family, but for my wife, and now my kids are obsessed with them. But so we ended up making the cookies, and we baked them on Thanksgiving. Um, while we were watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So that to me is one of the first signs that the holiday season's coming is when the cookies
Hmm.
start coming out. So
Yeah, I mean, talking about Thanksgiving, I think also to like kick off the holidays, traditionally it always started for us in Thanksgiving. Like on Thanksgiving Day, my everybody met at my grandparents' house and the entire family like would come. So all my aunts, uncles, cousins, brother, sister, everybody would just show up and get ready for this massive feast. But part of the tradition was while some of the food was being cooked, all of us collectively as a family kind of took a section in the house, inside and outside, and we started putting up Christmas lights. And that was like the tradition. Like we started putting Christmas lights on Thanksgiving Day. So by the time we were done with dinner, we had the big reveal, go outside, it's dark, and we turn on the lights, and it was just like something we got to enjoy as a family. Kind of like Christmas Vacation, a little bit where they
yeah,
just all stand outside and get ready for this massive reveal.
yeah,
Um, of course, it didn't work out for them the first couple of times he tried it, but luckily we didn't have that issue. We were good, and we didn't have 2 million bulbs either. It was a lot
right.
less,
No, I
but it
feel
was
like
still
he went a little over the top with that.
yeah, he was trying to completely take everybody's energy off the grid and just consume it for himself. But yeah, that was a tradition that we did. But for this past Thanksgiving, it's been a long time. I mean, my parents are divorced, so it's been a long time that I have them in the same room, especially for a holiday. And this past Thanksgiving, we got to experience that. So my dad came with
Oh, that's
his,
great.
with his wife and my sister. Uh, he brought my sister who lives with him, and then I have an older sister who lives in Georgia, and she drove down to surprise my dad. So they were here, and then my mom showed up with my nephew. So we had like the house packed, and it was awesome to have all of us under the same roof. And this is, man, I'm talking about probably 15, 16 years, maybe even 20
Wow.
years that we've been under the same roof for a holiday. So that's really cool to have that. And I had an amazing time to just spend time with my family like that. We didn't get to do the lights. I kind of did the work beforehand, and I did the lights before just to have it all ready. So when they show up,
Hmm.
it's, has that holiday festive feel. Um,
Nice.
but it was a good Thanksgiving, and of course that kicks off the holidays, and so we're going full on Christmas in the house now, and Amazon
Nope.
seems like to be stopping by every hour now, dropping
Yeah.
off something at my doorstep. So, oh man, but hey, it is what it is.
No, I mean, those are the best times. I'm glad you could get all those people together, and
Hmm.
you haven't been able to do that in a while. My kids are well, I guess they were excited before, but the other thing, when we watched the parade, when Santa's at the end, they're just like, "It's Christmas! We're so excited!" They they have not stopped talking about Santa, so they are ready. My daughter, who's 4, will wake up. Is it Christmas yet? Christmas yet? Is Santa coming? Santa coming now? I was like, no, no, it's still December. It's still December 2nd. We can't, not yet. So they are. If they had their way, he'd be here now. But
Yeah, of
he's
course.
still gonna wait the rest of the month.
Yeah, the magic for me has been revealed a little bit earlier this year, which was, a challenge because it's like, okay, what do I do now? Um, so parents who are listening, I'm sure you know what I mean. After your kids get a certain age, but one thing I think I just try to keep on doing is delivering those same magical moments. So for example, um, Santa's still bringing gifts on, Christmas Eve when we're all sleeping. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
continuing that because I think even me as an adult seeing that was kind of even though, I helped Santa a little bit. It was something where I was able to. It just looked cool. It was awesome. It's like, all
Sure.
right, this is it. This is the moment. Waiting for everybody to wake up and open their gifts. So there's things that we're still continuing. Something else that we're also continuing is our Elf in the Shelf made a return on Thanksgiving night.
Nice.
So the Elf in the Shelf is all over the
We we
house doing things.
we never got into Elf on a Shelf, and it's not it's nothing against anyone who
Right.
does it. I don't. My parents never did it. My wife's parents never did
Hmm.
it. I mean, to be honest, I honestly don't remember it as a kid. I only remember it in the last 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, and
The only
I
time I
I
had ever
mean,
heard of it is when we were babysitting someone else's child.
hmm
I mean, she was like, I think 7 or 8, but this was like 10 years ago, and they did that when we were babysitting. We're like, we do Elf on a Shelf, so don't be surprised if you find this elf somewhere around the house.
yeah, for me it's something that I maybe learned about like in the last 4 or 5 years or so. And only because my daughter brought it up and she was just talking about this elf like so much. And I looked into it. I was like, oh, cool, we can do this. So I started doing it, but I mean, like you as a kid, I never did anything like that. I never even heard of it.
No.
Not until like 4 or 5 years ago where we started doing it here, and my daughter just gets a kick out of it. I mean, she just wakes up looking for for this elf.
Where is it?
Um,
Where is it?
we've had a nice elf, but I think this year we're gonna encourage the elf to be a little bit more mischievous
There you
and
go.
and and do some things around the house and just have some fun. So, but
Maybe give it some elf nip or something. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we're still trying to continue certain traditions and of course the magic as well because I mean, I know me as an adult and I know my daughter will appreciate these things as she gets older too. It's
Sure.
just to have fun with it, have fun with it and continue the magic. Like you always got to believe, right?
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yep.
That's great that you're still continuing that, and because if you can keep that type of magic in your heart, that's the,
Mm-hmm.
most important thing for you and everybody else
Mm-hmm.
who, wants to have that in their life at,
Right.
at Christmas. So
Yeah, I mean, I
that's
know
great.
as a kid, it brings it brings a level of joy that you can't wait for
Sure.
the whole year for this moment to come. But and then I think as parents, it brings us a different, I'm experiencing a different kind of joy looking at her and the smiles and how happy she is and knowing that you get to be a part of that. I mean, I think that's awesome to see. So I selfishly want that to continue. Um, I just hope that she continues like the expressing her feeling towards Christmas and what she looks
Yeah.
forward to and stuff. So and so far that's it's been happening. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we talked about that it's cold down here, and we know the Christmas is coming. So it does mean we still have some the Orlando Dads group still has some events for the rest of the year. But we are kind of winding down because we want to make sure we had taken a week off during Thanksgiving, and we're gonna kind of do the same before Christmas to make sure that everyone can spend time with their families and extended families and whoever they want to or who they are spending Christmas or whatever they celebrate around this time of year. So one of the events that is coming up is on December 11th, which is a Wednesday. We've got our that's our usual virtual meetup, but this is an extra special meetup, uh, an extra special virtual meetup because we are actually including the Tampa City Dads and the Miami City Dads and making it a Florida virtual meetup. So we're hoping to get those three groups together and really kind of continue what we were doing. And I feel like I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm hoping that we can continue to do this so we can kind of unify the three groups together for this virtual
Yeah.
meetup.
And I think as we've been doing the virtual meetups, I mean, we see how impactful those meetups are and what we can do to each other, like to support each other, um, regardless of what it is somebody's needing at that moment. It kind of goes beyond our group and it's something that can, potentially help, many. So with the other Florida groups that we have, we extended it to them, but who knows? This thing might just end up growing nationally where we can just host a virtual meetup and provide some sort of outlet or safe space for dads to come to
Yeah,
and just talk about anything, really.
that'd be great. I mean, we got to start somewhere. So we're
Yeah, yeah.
we're starting with Florida, and hopefully we can reach out from there. So that is on December 11th, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Um, and the link uh to the Zoom is on Meetup. So when you join the event, this is either in Tampa City Dads, Miami City Dads, or Orlando. All of us will have the link once you join in the event. The other event that we have going on is on December 14th. That's at 10 a.m. I believe that's a Saturday. That's a
Mhm.
dad's cocoa and coffee. So that's going to be a dad and a kid event. And that's going to be at Foxtail Coffee. Um,
Yep.
which
Yep.
location is that again? I apologize, I forgot.
It's gonna be at the Hourglass District.
So we're hoping to get we're gonna get some dads together, bring their kids. Dads will have some coffee, kids can have some cocoa, and we can all hopefully it won't be as cold as it is now, but it'll get us more in the spirit, with some warm beverages um, with our kids on December 14th, again at 10 a.m. at Foxtail Coffee in the Hourglass District.
Yeah, and I think we're possibly thinking of adding one more. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. We're
We really were. I think we were bummed that you couldn't join us on the Home Alone trivia. So there is one on the 17th. Stay tuned for that because at Rock Pit Brewing Company there's another uh, trivia night on the 17th of December, also on Tuesday. That is a Christmas vacation trivia that I think would be a lot of fun to do. So we're trying to work that out as well. But um, stay tuned as well because we will be posting events in January. So we can hit the ground running in 2025.
That's right. Lots of exciting stuff. There was a lot of growth this year for our group. Lots of great things to happen. We were able to attend I mean, so many events and conferences and expos and just do so many different things and reach out to different groups and make a lot of partnerships. So 2024, I think, was a huge success. Of course, we added Nick as a co-organizer this year as well. So there's just been a lot of good things with the Orlando Dads group, and I think next year we're going to continue that momentum. We've created a lot of relationships with many local businesses, and I think next year is going to be even bigger.
I look forward to it. I can't wait to see what 2025 brings. Thank you for listening to the Orlando Dads Group podcast. Join us next time as we answer anonymous questions from our past virtual meetups about topical fatherhood issues. We still have events going on in December. We always have new members come out to each event. This time, we would love to get to know you. Find us on social media, on Facebook and Instagram as Orlando Dads Group, and on X as @OrlandoDads. Check out the rest of the month's events, including a free, yes, I did say free showing of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 on Tuesday, December 17th at 4:15 p.m. at Regal Cinemas in Oviedo.